be making eggplant parmesan. I have sliced all these about 1/2 inch in thickness. We're going to be frying them up. I'm not that even. We're going to be frying them up, but before we do that, we want to make sure that they are softened and not bitter. So we're going to lay them out in the colander and sprinkle them with salt. And come back in about 30 minutes. While we're letting the eggplant soak, we are going to prepare 3 beaten eggs and about 2 to 3 cups of dried breadcrumbs, our keto pork rinds. So let's get started on that. Now to bread our eggplants, I use breadcrumbs that are not actually breadcrumbs, although I keep it in my old breadcrumb container. So I call it keto breadcrumbs. They're just pork rinds. I'm sure you've heard of this before, but I just store them in here. When I need to prepare them, I'll just take some pork rinds and I grind them up and store them away for later. And then I can add whatever spices I want, depending on what food I'm trying to make with them. Usually I'll prepare an entire bag and just whatever didn't get used gets stored away for later. So Hannah looked up the seasonings that we're going to add into our breadcrumbs because pork rinds, well, we can't just cheat and get Italian flavored pork rinds. Or maybe we can.
Yeah.
Haven't even looked. All right, what do we got?
So yeah, let's get going. I'm gonna start off with a teaspoon of salt, and then we're gonna do a whole teaspoon of parsley. Just dump it in there. Now we're gonna do a whole teaspoon of ground black pepper. Get that going. And then we have a whole teaspoon of garlic powder, which is kind of surprising actually, because when I think of Italian seasoning, I don't think of garlic powder. Then we're gonna do 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. So we'll get that going. Yes. And then we're gonna do a 1/2 teaspoon of oregano. And then we have a 1/2 teaspoon of basil. All right, got the basil in. Am I saying basil right?
Basil?
Basil. Does it matter? I don't know if I'm saying
Maybe
right.
it depends on region. Tomato.
Okay, now we'll just mix it all together, kind of, get it going. So, yeah, that's about it.
All right, let's add it to our pork
try
rinds.
it.
So our eggplant had soaked for 30 minutes. We rinsed them off to get the salt off because you really don't want to be just ingesting that much salt. And then we patted them dry. And now we are going to go ahead and dip them in our beaten eggs. And then our breadcrumbs. And then we're just going to set that aside, go on to the next. We're going to get them all prepped up while our oil is heating up. And according to this recipe, we use 1/4 cup of oil, but I'm sorry, there's no way that would ever cover the bottom. So, and a heavy skillet, you want a heavy skillet. I'm really going out of order here, huh?
You need to do a script, maybe, that might help. No, not.
That'd be work. Who does work? Okay, so we want a heavy skillet. We want to put enough oil in there to at least coat 1/2 of your eggplant slices. Once my oil is ready and I'm going to start frying up my eggplants, I'm going to turn on my oven to 350 and let it start warming up. So once you've got these all dressed and your oil is between 350 and 375, you're going to go ahead and start adding them to the oil.
Did it get you?
No, it just scared me. I probably shouldn't put them so close, that way I don't drop the temperature too quickly. Otherwise, if your temperature's not high enough, you end up with greasy food. Now I will tell you, I like to use a slotted spatula because it helps me handle them the best without dropping them, because tongs, I always drop them or break them. And the slots let the oil release as you transfer them over. So little tip there. After about 2 minutes, flip them over to the other side and give them another 2 minutes. And now we will go ahead and put them on either paper towels or a rack and let them drain their oil. Once they're done draining and we've gotten them all in, we'll put them in a baking dish and set them up from there. It's vegetarian. The pork rinds are not exactly kosher, so we're going to do a few that are simply salted, rinsed, dried, and fried. Then we'll include those in with the rest so that they get the same cheesy, saucy flavor. Of course, it would have been smarter if we did these before we did the pork rind ones. So now we are going to add them to a pre-sprayed, we already lubricated the pan. We're going to just get my spatula under there. We're going to do one layer. There's the one where we clumped it because if your breadcrumbs are dry, you'll have success. This was at the end where the egg was mixing in with it and we got a little clumpy. Now, whatever low carb or no sugar tomato sauce, marinara, spaghetti sauce you can find, that's what you're going to add on top here. And then we're going to add some mozzarella cheese. I should give you measurements. I'll put them in the instructions in the info box below. But basically what I'm going to do is put as much as I can possibly fit on there because that's how I like it. And a little bit of Parmesan. And now we're going to do it all over again. Oh, you poor thing. Look at you. I left yours dry. Now we're going to go ahead and put on a second layer. Okay, we're going to put this in the oven, and basically you're just putting it in there to get the cheese to melt. So we'll come and check on this in about 10-15 minutes.
Oh my god, that's so good.
So we pulled it off, huh?
Yeah.